Hey America, isn't everything great? Isn't our country so wonderful? Taylor and Terrence got married. We all had a wonderful 4th. Happy birthday, America. Happy. So, a long time ago, there was a comic by the artist Stone Toss that was making its rounds of rage bait around the internet. The comic featured a figure espousing conservative ideas about gun ownership and free speech, and then later, in a few panels, had that same character expressing the sentiment, just like the Nazis. Now, if you don't know who Stone Toss is, he's a Nazi. And when I say he's a Nazi, that's not me calling him a name because I disagree with his political ideology. No, Stone Toss identifies as a white supremacist, white nationalist, full-on neo-Nazi. Not only are his comics constantly pushing his far-right ideology, but they're often jokes at the expense of trans people or immigrants or people of color or anyone left of him, including conservatives who aren't as far-right as him. When this comic was released, a lot of conservative-minded people saw this and they were unfamiliar with Stone Toss, and they assumed that the comic was making criticism against them. Conservatives looked at this turd-headed odd ones out caricature and naturally assumed that it was a liberal, once again calling conservatives Nazis. Stone Toss, being a far right-leaning person, was not criticizing conservatives or right-wing ideals. He's saying that this political philosophy were in fact good ideas pushed forth by the Third Reich, trying to convince them that they should in fact be as far right as they could possibly go. On July 4th, the celebration in DC was interrupted by the Patriots Front, a neo-fascist white supremacist group. What a way to celebrate 250 years of America by allowing a group like this. All throughout during this presidency, a lot of fascist far-right groups have felt liberated in order to march the streets and express their ideals, their hate. These groups have always existed, sure, but so many of them now feel empowered to take to the streets and get away with their hate and their bigotry. Now, I'm not going to say that if you voted for Trump, you're a fascist. That's not the route I'm going with this video. I think that many people who voted for Trump believe themselves to be opposed to fascism. I think that they believe that. I know people, I am related to people who voted for Trump, and they're nice people. But I want you to know that these guys not only voted for the same person as you, they feel empowered because the person you voted for is now in charge. And if you don't align with these people, I seriously think you need to consider your stance on authority, on human rights issues, and corruption as a whole. The effect that the mass media can have on you, which in this day and age is certainly not relegated to television. It's probably mostly not from television anymore. It's from your news feed and social media and the internet. That old saying goes, you are not immune to propaganda. As another saying goes, to come back to what I said earlier about plenty of Trump supporters who are nice people. Nice people make the best Nazis. And again, that's not me calling you a Nazi. I am not trying to stir the pot here. I am not trying to make you angry. I am just trying to get you to see things. Fascism is a very huge, complex issue. This video is not about trying to analyze it or explain it, but I will say that this is how it spreads. It appeals to people's fears and misunderstanding, and soon appeals to their hatred and their anger. We are constantly shifting the Overton window into what is an acceptable thing to believe and think. I don't think people are this oblivious. Again, I am trying to make a plea to your rationale, your humanity. Look around you at what's happening. You know what's happening. I get it, you don't want to feel wrong, you don't want to be embarrassed because you voted for a pedophile, but you can come away from that. You can be a better person and admit what you've done and grow as a person. Because when you're more upset by protests from Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ plus rights or pro Palestine protests or any kind of Antifa protests, when you're more bothered by those than you are these guys, you need to check yourself. You need to reconsider what you actually stand for, what your values are. Most people who are or were fascist don't consider themselves to be fascist. When Trump himself appeals to these people by making racist AI photos, that's someone we want as president? Those are American values? Again, find it in your heart. Don't side with the billionaires and the politicians who are just causing us more dissent. Don't let billionaires manipulate you into hating your neighbor in order to distract you from the fact that they're the ones causing all the problems in our society and making you hate people who have more in common with you than you do any of the other people pushing for these laws, any of the people in power that you worship. So please, find it in your heart. That's not you.